Hello guys, good afternoon. My name is CryptoCube and it's been a while since I last brought the weekly analysis. This is due to the fact that there was nothing happening. All my buyers from the past week still remain the same. So there was nothing to talk about on the analysis. But today we have something interesting on the chart. So here we are for the weekly analysis. And on Bitcoin, we have made a new all-time highs. Not just a new all-time highs, we have also made an higher high. On the weekly, you can see we have a move coming from all this to this side, then a retracement down to make an higher high. So on the daily, let's look at how exactly it happened. So remember, I had this triangle, and I said when it broke that my bias of a long and higher high will not change until this demand breaks. And that if this demand breaks with a close below, then I will expect the 24,000 region to hold. And that didn't just happen. After the triangle broke, we had this descending channel or bull flag, the creation of this channel, which we broke above and then closed back below, only to retest the new demand which was created. And now we have price coming back into supply with a small rejection. I was saying yesterday on my group that if this candle here were to have closed around this point as a bearish engulfing candle, then I would expect price to come to this region. I would expect price to come down and retest this area. Oh, sorry. And retest this demand here. But as it didn't close as a bearish engulf, rather we had a pin bar which is quite bullish. So today we have this breakout which created a new highs and a break above supply, which then means if this candle, this is the day chart, right? If today's candle were to close above this supply and above these very highs, then here will be an interesting area to look at. This region will be an interesting area to look at. So, and looking at this move that led to the higher high, we didn't just see these patterns come into play. We also have the correctional waves and Elliott waves. As we have the impulse here, then we have the correctional wave up to here. And what we had was an A, B, C move. So we have the A, B, C. And then we have this break, which then broke the highs to make a new higher high and an all-time highs. So we probably have demand there depending on how this candle closes and then at this very point here. So that is Bitcoin. Let's go on to the 4-hour. This demand now is, this supply is broken. It's broken, either close above or not, it's broken. But if this thing closes below it, I wouldn't trade this area. I will be looking for a retest of this trend line here. So looking at the 4 hours, let's see our buyers. So as you can see, we have something, we have this move up. We can draw a trend like this. It's sort of channeled move. So I do not trade channels or patterns, but then at times it's good to identify because this didn't go lower and now we have this particular red candle. So looking at this structure itself, this area on the 4-hour is a good point to buy. We have an higher swing high, we have an higher high with a close above, not just a close above this demand. So what broke this particular supply is this area here. So I will be looking at this particular area on the 4-hour to buy, and then it conforms with this ascending pattern. So what may happen on the ascending pattern is something like this. And then probably a break above. So we can expect something like a correction and then a move above. So this is what I'll be looking for on the 4-hour. Remember, the 4-hour is quite different from the daily. On the 4-hour, you can buy this just for a short profit, as in a short-term trade. But on the daily, it's quite different scenario. So that is it for Bitcoin. And then let's look at ETH. And on ETH, we also have an higher high and a new all-time highs. Like I said in one of my last videos, I do not believe ETH is not at this moment up to 2,500. But then what you can see on the TH is we have this size, we have this side, come to this side. So we also have this trend line if we are to draw. We also have this trend line like this, coming like this. So we are seeing, and then we have this as well. So it's still an ascending channel. So we are likely to get a pullback. We are likely to get a pullback into this zone or this region. If at all, then continue higher. And if we do not get a pullback, we are likely to see a break above, because we have this bullish move on Bitcoin, which is soon to be reflected, which will soon be reflected on all these odds, ETH and co. So we may just have a big pull up. And on the 4-hour, where it becomes clearer, as you can see, we have this side, which this side has broken on the 4-hour. This side has broken, but we are getting an SFP. We have this candle push into this region, but couldn't break it. Then we have this one which actually broke it, and now this candle formation we are looking at is not exactly good. So I will likely be expecting a pullback into this zone on the 4-hour. If you cannot trade like this, you can also trade it like this in order to get filled. So we can have a pullback into this zone, and from the pullback into this zone, anywhere inside, then we make a clear highs. So that is possibly the outlook on ETH. And if this breaks, then now we'll be looking at this area as a point of interest. This other area, in the case this breaks, it doesn't mean that at this point, it doesn't mean that it cannot come to this very tiny region here and touch it and then bounce. It can. They are all probabilities, right? So I'm just showing you the different kind of probabilities which may play out. But then personally, I wouldn't consider this region. If my order at the bottom here do not get filled, there is always another day. So this is what it is. There is nothing much to check on this pair though. Then let's move on to BNB. BNB as well, we have these new highs. We have these new highs, but then it's still refusing to move above it clearly. As in we have this previous high from 2 days ago. Now we have a break above. On the daily, it's not exactly interesting, because I do not want to believe that price will come down all the way to this point, which should be a point of interest, or this very point, which will be my main point of interest. So looking at the 4-hour, as you can see, it's exactly the same thing with the ETH. All the movement here is the same thing with the ETH, where we have a pull above, but then refusing to close above. It closed very badly. So what I will expect for this particular move, if it were to come down with the possibility of going higher, is that I will be looking at this particular region here to buy. It's the exact same pattern with the ETH. Odds follow BTC, yes, especially the USDT pair when it follows a stronger one. We all know that when BTC is rising, odds BTC are dropping. So depends on the speed of rise. So after a cool down from BTC, we expect a rally from us. But before then, we can likely get a pullback, as we have these bearish movements from this BNB and this ones. Then I may likely expect something like this. And if this fails, it may even be to this region, because we have this rally-based rally here, which this fund support only to move up. So you can extend your stop to this region. If this fails, I wouldn't look at this point, but on the 4-hour, then I will consider this point. I might just increase it a bit to the upside, like here. So this BNB and ETH is exactly the same thing. So that is it for BNB on the 4-hour. Let's look at another coin. Let's look at ALGO. ALGO is not yet making an higher high to that 3-day size. So here might be a point of interest on ALGO. This zone here, we have this very bullish move away, so here might be a good point of interest. And on the 4-hour, we don't have an higher high yet, and we do not have a break above this size. So if you want to long at this point, it may be risky. I don't know why this is not selecting one time. So if you want to long at this point, it may be risky based on the fact that we do not have an higher high to this. So it can work elsewhere. You can just wait for confirmation on the lower time frames, and when you get a confirmation that price is coming into the zone and then it's going to react to the upside, something like that, yeah, then you can take, once this side breaks, then you can take the long. You can always watch on lower time frames for confirmation. But here should be a point of interest, but not exactly a good point of interest to me. And if that breaks as well, it is this point. This point I wouldn't like to take this point, but reaction can come from here. Here would be a very good point of interest, but you can just have one of the early entries at this point. So let's look at another coin. Let's look at Link. Link, we have few days ago made an higher high, all-time high swaps, right? And then we have this test of this zone here, reaction to the upside, and then we even already have a test of this zone here. This zone on links, they are very wide. We have a test of it here, and then we have this reaction to the upside, 13%. Zones on this link, they are very wide, so you may want to wait for confirmation. And then, okay, we have this. This is even a better zone on the 4-hour, where we would have been my point of interest. I wasn't looking at all this guys. It didn't quite trip this top, and then we have a reaction to the upside. This one is just around 3.89% wide, and we made it. That means we already have like 3 hour, I think, or 2 point something or 3 hour of this particular trade. So this is why you're making a nice with this. If this chooses to reverse, this may likely break, and then we still have this demand here, which was stripped here. So this will be the new point of interest here, or at this particular level, in the case this chooses to break. But then looking at this as well, this led to the move to this all-time high, so you may want to extend your zone like this in order not to miss out when price just comes here and then moves up. But if price makes an high above this high, then there will be a new demand created along this area. As for now, there is nothing in particular to watch out for. So let's look at another coin. Let's look at ALGOs. Now we see ALGOs. We have a break of this zone. We have a break of this supply zone. These are mini zones that may hold. They may play a reaction like this did when this moved up, rally based rally. Then this came back into it for a quick one and then up. It doesn't mean that this one won't do the same, and it doesn't mean that it will do the same. But where I will personally be looking to trade this particular coin, if I want to trade it, will be at this particular area and then these lower levels on the daily. Now let's look at on the 4 hours. Now on the 4 hours, here would have been a good point of interest, this particular level. But then we already have this week down, which means it's already tested. I don't know if it feels or not. It's already tested, and then we have this move above. And so trading on the 4 hour, if this were to come down, here will be my new point of interest. This particular level will be my new point of interest. As we can see, we have many weeks into this particular area here, which means there are multiple demands possibly at this particular level. The moment we have this bullish move out of this region here, we have this candle coming back into it with a lot of wicks, and every wick into this zone, this box, has closed higher above this area. That shows that there is demand at this particular region here. But that doesn't mean that when price comes into it, it will react up to the upside, because we have many tests of this zone already. It may just come and then break it to go to a lower zone. It can come to this, sorry, it We can come to this region like this. Sorry, I don't know. I'm not good at this. So you can come to this zone like this, then react back to the outside. So, but then you want to pay attention to this, as then if you are not trusting it enough to place a limit order as in a pending order, you can just watch for confirmation on lower time frames. Now let me show you an example of a trader I watched on confirmation for lower time frame, but I didn't get feed anyway. That is banned here. Okay, so on band we have it making an higher high to this size. Then what would you notice here? We can see that this very region here, we have very long wicks closing. We have a pushback, a really good, very pushback, which means this price may likely reverse. At the moment it did, I wasn't even looking at it daily, but on the 4 hours. So the moment it came down, as it was coming down and broke below this low, I went down to the 30 minutes time frame. And then on the 30 minutes time frame, as you can see, I had this trend line. Even before I had this trend line, because I shifted it, yes, I had this like this before, from this size, like this. But the moment this one broke and then created a new IC, here didn't hold, only to create a lower low to this. Then I had to shift it to correct the new part of the price. If you have watched my trend line lesson, you will understand what I did here. So I shifted it to match the new part which price has created. And then I went on to the 5 minutes time frames, which was where I was monitoring it. As you can see, I had all this supply zone drawn. And then the moment price came into this area, I was watching. Then it came into this supply, made some whipsaw, then broke above it at this very small candle here. You can see the trip on this very candle just above the supply. But then I wasn't convinced. I could have taken here as my demand, but I wasn't convinced because we had demand coming from these candles. We had a little pulse here, which my demand will have started from, and then we have this huge spike in price. So then we have this rejection from the zone. I could have taken this particular zone as my entry if this had closed above. So I will expect a correction, but it didn't close above. Then I expected price to come lower, but then it came only into it, only to come back to this other supply zone. Then made it come back again into this very demand zone. By then it had a first touch already, and then a second touch here. So I wasn't even interested in this zone again. I was expecting it to move lower. Then it came even onto this zone, made small reaction and broke it. Then came back here again into this zone again. And then what did we have? We have a rally to the upside. And then the rally to the upside ended up breaking the trend line. At the moment the trend line broke, I then had another demand. This demand is quite here. So I was expecting price to come into this particular region, which will also be the retest of the trend line, and then move higher. Here is an higher time frame where I was expecting a bit of reaction. It did trip it and then come back above, which this happens to be a deviation or a fake out. And then now we have this small moving candle. So I expected to do something like this because of the BTC action. BTC is bullish, and that was the moment they dropped. So there is a correction to the upside for now. So what I expect is from this correction to the upside to then retrace back into this zone, and then we can finally probably have a move to the upside. So this is what I'm expecting, and if it doesn't feel, there is always time for another day. So that should be it, guys. There was nothing much to talk about on this analysis. There is nothing interesting that much, but then you just have to be patient enough for price to come into your zone. And if price doesn't come into your zone, you can, if you want to take the trade where price is, just watch for confirmation that price is ready to go higher. And according to this particular trade, I will be interested in short if the market do come back here. I'll be looking for a short here. I'll be talking mostly about long now. So I think on my next analysis, I will also talk about some supply where we can look to short the market. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this channel so we can always bring you more interesting content, not just on technical analysis, but also on how you can actually become a trader of your own self, a professional trader at that. And if you think that trading is a bit tedious, or maybe you do not have the time to trade, but then you want to benefit from trading, there is a signal channel which you can join, which is being run by a friend and a partner with high quality signals. They are 100% free. You do not have to pay anything. He's doing it to give back to the community as well. So you can subscribe to the channel, which I will have the channel link in the description below. Then you can join the channels to take channels and just execute the trades according to the details it gives. And if you are ready to take the time to actually learn from a group, you can join our group where we discuss technical analysis and other fun things. So we'll be expecting you. Thank you for watching.